Hi friends, welcome to Storytime on the Back Porch. I'm Lisa with my furry friends, Lyla and Lilly Belle. We have a story today about someone who lives on the moon. That's right, Molly and her family go to the moon in Molly on the Moon. Now the only thing is Molly is kind of limited when it comes to toys and she has to use her imagination. Let's find out how creative Molly is. Molly moved to the moon. She moved to the moon to an underground room and rode on a rocket with her mom and her baby brother Luke. The room was called a module. It wasn't very big, so Molly could bring only one toy, her little lamb Lassie. But there were the packing crates that the food came in. Those became a fort. The fort and Lassie were her only toys on the moon, except for the old solar panel cover. That became a witch's cape. But the fort and the witch's cape and Lassie were her only toys on the moon, except for the tin cans. Those became a tea set. But the fort and the witch's cape and the tea set and Lassie were her only toys on the moon. One day she went to get Lassie so they could have tea in the fort together, but Lassie wasn't there. Molly remembered that the moon is a funny place where things weigh less. On the moon, very light things could get pulled into the fan, but Lassie wasn't there either. Then Molly heard a noise inside her fort. Ba, ba, ba. Inside Molly's fort, Luke was having a tea party with her only toy. "Hey, Lassie is mine," Luke said, "ba, ba, ba," and clutched the lamb tighter. "Give her back." The gravity on the moon is weaker than on Earth, which made Molly seem extra strong. And like moon cookies, Luke seemed extra light, like he didn't weigh much more than a feather pillow. So when Molly pulled Lassie, she pulled Luke right over her head. He let go of Lassie, but kept going. He landed on top of the table and bounced back into the air. He bounced off the bed and flew higher. Molly reached for him, but Luke bounced off her fingers and went even higher. Their mother came in and snatched him out of the air. "Molly, what did we say about tossing the baby?" "He took Lassie." "You have to be gentle, especially on the moon." It wasn't fair, so Molly took her witch's cape and Lassie and went into the fort. Molly didn't even want tea anymore. She just wanted to sit and be mad. Ouch! She sat on one of Luke's blocks, and that made her even madder. She started to throw the block out of her fort, but then stopped. Molly looked at the block and realized Luke had only blocks to play with. He didn't have a fort or a witch's cape or a tea set. She had a stuffed animal brought all the way from Earth. He didn't have anybody at all to play with on the moon, except for her. Molly went to find her mother. "Mama, will you help me sew something?" The witch's cape was so light that the fan wanted to pull it up to the ceiling. They had to pin it to the bed in order to cut it. First Molly cut out a rectangle-ish thing, then a roundish thing, then some tube things. She sewed them all together into something that might have been a lamb, or it might have been a dog, or it might have been a hippopotamus. When she gave it to Luke, he grabbed it. "Ba, ba, ba." He jumped for joy. Molly grabbed her little brother before he could float too high and invited him to tea. Molly lived on the moon. Molly lived on the moon in an underground room and had tea in her fort with Lassie and Ba 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 and her baby brother Luke. Molly was very creative. You know, in the back of this book, it's got all kinds of facts about the moon. That's Molly on the Moon by Mary Kowal and Diana Mayo. Thank you so much for joining us for Storytime on the Back Porch. We have lots of read aloud stories to share.